Every day, citizens around the country are faced with new dilemmas. Dilemmas that affect them profoundly. Whether it's injustice, discrimination, falling through the cracks, scandals and cronyism, balances of power, ethics, religious freedoms, state versus citizens, and unfunded mandates, and the list goes on and on and on. Welcome to Speak Up. It's directed at those who have fallen through the cracks, and it gives them a voice. It's your turn to speak up, to stand up and fight back.
Welcome to Speak Up. I'm Kevin Avard, your host, and I'm proud to introduce you to my next guest, which is Karen Testerman. You're running for Senate here in New Hampshire, U.S. Senate district.
No district. It's the whole state.
Whole state.
Against Jean Shaheen.
Against Jean Shaheen. Well, I want to welcome you to the show.
Thank you.
And for those of you who didn't know, there are other candidates other than Scott Brown. And I say that very facetiously because Karen's actually been running for quite some time along with Senator Bob Smith. And I believe way back I had Senator Rubin here on the show Speak Up. And it seems like these days it's a fait accompli that Scott Brown's already in. And to the consternation of a lot of people, we wanted to give equal time to Karen. And again, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Well, thank you, Kevin, for inviting me.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about your platform.
Sure.
So I think what's on everybody's mind right now is Obamacare.
Right.
And I like to start it off by saying that this was brought to the American people based upon lies. You can keep your doctor. You can keep your health care. You can keep your hospital. Premiums will go down $2,500 per household.
Correct.
None of these things were true. And for my audience, I would also like to say that if here in New Hampshire a bill was brought to the House and Speaker Norelli said, well, we're going to have to pass it before you get to see what's inside it, people would just, you'd be thronging the place.
Well, especially when it came down to the public hearing, you wouldn't have any of that going on. And let's face it, Obamacare is really not about insurance. It's not about health. It's not about making sure that everybody is covered by insurance, because you have 20,000 people who were supposedly not covered. Now you have 22,000 who've received notices. Yes, maybe they got another
Here in New Hampshire.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, maybe they got another plan, but that plan was not anywhere close to what they had before.
Right.
And in fact, I have a friend, Catherine Albrecht, who is a stage 3 cancer survivor. Her insurance now could not provide her with insurance any longer because she does not have, or it did not provide for maternity care. Well, when she went through her chemotherapy, she became sterile. So why?
It's not making sense.
No, it doesn't make sense. It's all about control. It's all about money, and it's a tax.
And power.
And power.
Well,
yes.
control is power, correct.
But it is a tax. Mm-hmm. And it's just like the IRS is going around and making sure that we super scrutinize anybody who disagrees with the current administration. Or the INS is snooping into all of our records and so forth. The Obamacare is just another way to control the citizens of New Hampshire and of the United States. And by the way, don't forget, it was Jean Shaheen who made sure that we had no competition. So that is why we only have one insurance company on the exchange, and that's Anthem Blue Cross.
You know, I went to an event with a while back, and I believe it was Andrew Hemingway was one of the speakers, and he was talking a little bit about Jean Shaheen, how that she's received money from the IRS. I believe it was $5,000. I'm sure that can be verified. Correct me if I'm wrong. But she was also the same person that encouraged the IRS to attack people of the Tea Party.
Correct.
Now, you know, you're supposed
not specifically the Tea Party. She was one of 7 senators, Democrat senators, who wrote a letter to the IRS. Now, this is in 2012, the IRS was already starting their scrutiny back in 2010. So you can go through and see the timeline on it. But in 2012, I believe she wrote that letter to help give them cover.
Right.
And it did ask them to be very specific about looking into organizations that were applying for 501c3s and 501c4s.
Why? That's the point.
Yeah.
And it's the chilling effect. And one of the things that I'm discovering even more as I'm doing my research, that even in New Hampshire, in our little state of New Hampshire, there's the same kind of chilling effect happening in our courts, with the Bar Association, with the New England Bar Association. There seems to be anybody who speaks out, boy, they know how to clobber you. And you know what? If you speak out against the bar, you're not going to get an attorney.
Well, that's what happened, and it started really coming to fruition when they passed, I think it was 1968, that they had the last con-con, Constitutional Convention, and the 73A went into effect, that anything that the judiciary was oversight on themselves, anything that they said had the same force and effect as law. And at that point, anybody who was a whistleblower, anybody who stood up and said something's wrong here, I need help or whatever.
If I can embellish, not embellish, but add to that a little bit, I totally agree with you. You know, we had Representative Mirsky here in Imbritson talking a little bit about the history of the courts over the years. And one of the things that I discovered, that Article 73A, it did pass. It was presented to the people in a kind of a nebulous type of way. On the ballot, it said that the Supreme Court justices will have the administrative rule of the courts. Well, it's kind of like a no-brainer. Sure, you're the judge. You know what's going on. But such rules that are made by the courts will have the effect of law was missing on the ballot.
Yes,
meaning,
that wording.
Meaning the judges could make rules in their courts that'll have the force and effect of law. They could make law without representation.
Correct.
So, Your Honor, this is a bad rule. I'm telling you, it's a bad rule. 1.2, waiver of rules. Well, you judges are going to listen to you. Dismissed.
Right.
Out.
Well,
pay the fine.
In fact, you know, Judge, you really need to recuse yourself because of your relationships in such and such a case that has impact on this particular case.
And they don't do it. There's one case that I will bring to light, and it has to do with the Mike Gill. You know, you see the signs, and he's been on the show a few times, and I've actually watched one of the hearings with Judge McHugh. And I mean, in the beginning of the hearing, he points to the judge and he says, Judge, you're corrupt. Wow. And the judge didn't recuse himself because and his name's all over the signs all over the state. And he's also worked on a few other cases. So I don't know. There's a lot going on there. But the bottom line is, you know, we can work on fiscal sanity, you know, which right now we're in insanity. We can talk about Obamacare. We can talk about our economy. If everything's running smooth, that's wonderful. But if you don't have justice, you have a mirage of a government.
Right.
Our Constitution was formed to give us justice.
And don't forget that when our Constitution was formed, we had sovereign states. We had 13 sovereign states that said, these are the duties that we are going to assign to the federal government. They're supposed to be our administrator to a certain extent, to take care of certain things. Provide us with a strong national defense. Make sure that we can trade and that our rules for commerce are fair across
settle disputes.
our state laws, our lines. And finally, make sure that we have an infrastructure, roads, mail, whatever it is, so that we can communicate with one another. That was it. And then very specifically, they stated in the 10th Amendment that anything that was not specifically delegated to this federal government was for the states and the people. Well, things have gotten to the point where now we've so centralized government that government is now telling the sovereign states, you're not sovereign anymore. You're under our control.
And now the
that's
IRS, under the same federal government, is saying, what's in your prayers?
Yes.
Hello?
Yeah, exactly.
That's none of your business.
Correct. But the other thing is we just, hired 12,000 or 16,500 new IRS agents to enforce Obamacare? So tell me Obamacare is not a tax that is meant to control the citizenry. What we have to do is send someone down to Washington who will join forces with other people in Washington, other senators in this particular case.
We definitely need new blood.
Who will be leaders and who will stand up against the Gang of Eight and say, no, we are going back to constitutional rules. We are going to assign back to or give back to the states their authority, and we're going to reduce the size of the centralized government.
One of the things that I saw on Fox News, and I admit it, I watch Fox News, I watch everything. I watch The Blaze, but one of the things I saw was Krauthammer the other day, very intelligent man. He's been around a lot longer than I have,
right,
saying that, we really can't get rid of Obamacare. It's just not going to happen. Didn't they say the very same thing about slavery? Wasn't slavery codified also by the Supreme Court? Didn't it pass? I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that they even said it was legal. I think we need to get rid of Obamacare, start all over. And because the Democrats have destroyed our health care, and in doing so, our economy as well.
Exactly, and it's like this lady that I was starting to tell you about who had the stage 3 cancer and is now told she cannot go to her doctor because her doctor is not in the system. She can't go to the hospital she wants to because it's out of state. She was going down to Dana-Farber. She can't get the prescriptions she needs because they're not on the approved list. So why? And what does this do to her? Where is she supposed to go? What's supposed to happen next?
One of the other things I want to talk about, there seems to be in New Hampshire just a constant assault against people's Second Amendment rights. What is the big push?
Well, I don't know, but this Saturday, which is April 5th, there are people from New Hampshire going down to support the people in Connecticut, because Connecticut has now been told, you have not registered your guns as of the 1st of the year. Therefore, by the 5th of April, you will now be Class B felons because you have not registered your guns.
And if you're a felon,
you can't have guns.
And if you're a felon, you can't vote.
That's true. That's true. That's another part of it. So now we are controlling the people because they don't agree with us. And there are people in Connecticut, and congratulations to them, because they are standing up and saying, we are not following this rule. We are standing up for our rights, because if you go back into history, no matter what regime it was, whether it was Hitler, it was Stalin, whoever it was, what was the one thing they did to control the people? They took away their guns.
I watched the Hunger Games, and at first I thought, why are the schools sending the kids to this Hunger Games? What is they trying to do? Is this a way of indoctrinating the kids? And I was really against it at first, and then I went and I watched the Hunger Games, and I got to thinking, those people need guns, those people, and resistance and the central control and the Hollywood, part of it. I don't know if you've seen it.
No,
but, Hollywood was a way to dumb down America. You know how Stalin would say, well, religion is the opiate of, Hollywood is the opiate of the masses.
Right.
And it's a way to get their message across. And I just thought, what an amazing sequel of a series. And it seems to me that again, like you said, when they take the guns away, people have no way to defend themselves against a rogue government.
What many people don't realize is that the NRA was established to give guns to freed slaves so that they could protect themselves. And because once the guns were taken away from them, anybody could come in and just bash them and control them.
I didn't know that. Yeah. Oh, interesting. Right now, it seems like New Hampshire is drinking some Kool-Aid. I'm not really, we just passed Medicaid expansion.
I know. I can't believe that.
And I think it was Ryan, in his new budget, just came out today or yesterday, somebody posted it, saying that they're not going to be able to fund Medicaid at 100%. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? You know, they're not going to be able to, food stamps and Medicaid. Now, there's a provision that if they don't fund it at 100%, which they never do,
Right.
It'll sunset.
So then you tell all of these 20,000 people or whoever, however many the number is, I've heard anything from 20,000 to 50,000. You tell those people that we're no longer going to provide health insurance to you now or Medicaid to you now because we've expanded it, but now we don't have money and we're going to pull. Who's drinking the Kool-Aid there, really? The reality is that what people have to start asking is, okay, so you're going to give me back X number of dollars in a grant. How much did it really cost me for you to give me back X number of dollars from the federal government?
Right.
You know, when proven fact, when we get $10 million in a grant or $10 million coming into the state from the federal government, it really cost us, the taxpayers, $14 million to send it to the Washington so that they could pay the people there and process it back to give it back to us with strings attached, by the way.
Exactly. So you're gonna live your life this way by the money that we give back to you. And by the way, there's going to be 10 hospitals that aren't going to be able to service you. In addition to that, we're going to pay Anthem 3 times the amount of the normal premium. There's something corrupt going on here.
You think?
I think. But you don't see the media talking about it this way. You see the celebration with the governor signing it and everybody dancing and hugging and saying, hey, what a great thing. You just screwed New Hampshire citizens. Well, and I'm going to say something, and it's controversial. I'm running for state senate myself, but I do not agree with this. I will have the courage to say no when they do not fund it at 100% or when it sunsets. And I don't know what the Senate president was thinking. We have to call on our own to be accountable.
Oh, definitely, they should be held accountable for it. But the reality is they've set us up so that we, New Hampshire, who has always been without an income tax, are now right to have an income tax, to have to pay for something. And quite honestly, Kevin, too, at the state government level, and granted, a senator won't have that ability to influence the state government, but the state government, when the legislators get together and they have this carrot of a federal dollar coming down, they need to be able to say, okay, when that federal dollar goes away in 3 years, where are we going to get the revenue to pick up the slack? And we do not do that on a regular basis. And if they can't figure out and tell you exactly how that money's going to, where that money's going to come from, we shouldn't accept that money in the first place.
Governor Hassan had a budget based upon a casino that never happened. $84 million. It never happened.
Well, it wasn't even legal.
Exactly. So now there's an $84 million. Where are we going to get that? Let's make a deal. Let's make a deal. Do you think there's going to be a casino now? I wonder. And the casino isn't the right answer. You're growing this thing, this beast, the leviathan of government, that as bigger and bigger it gets, the less control the people have of it, and the more expensive. You can drive a Cadillac, you can drive a Mercedes, you can drive a tank. Every one of those things has a price tag. And the bigger this government goes, the more you're going to pay for bread, the more you're going to pay for gas.
Look at it now, just in the last 2 years. That half-gallon of ice cream is now a pint and a half. You're still paying the same amount.
Right, they're shrinking the boxes.
Right, they're shrinking the boxes.
We're noticing. I do the shopping, by the way.
And you go to the gas pump, and what used to cost you $1.80 now costs you $3.60, $3.70, almost $4 a gallon.
They're talking about a 4-cent gas tax.
Exactly.
Well, we need the roads. We need to build the roads. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you right now, it's already on the books that money is supposed to go to the roads, but it's turned into a little slush fund. It's not going to where it's supposed to go. The legislature needs to enforce that rule. But that's New Hampshire. You're going to the Senate and basically represent us.
At the federal level, yes.
How's the campaign going? I get all worked up about this.
I don't blame you. We all get.
I haven't even talked about Common Core yet. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. But people, our citizenry are so angry. In fact, some of them are so angry they can't even talk about it. You know, I go up and I say, propose something to them, and they just get flustered and they walk off because they're so upset about what's going on in Washington, D.C. They're upset with the lawlessness. They're upset with the fact that we cannot trust our own senator. Our own senator stands there on the floor of the Senate when they're discussing climate change, and she's saying that we've had shorter winters and less snow in the state of New Hampshire. And I'm wondering,
didn't we break some records this year?
We broke records. We've had a long winter. And where is she?
It's a clue, though, because you know this environmental movement started off, you know, with Republicans, what was it? EPA, years ago under Nixon, and it was supposed to be, you know, clean up the streets, pick up the papers, which is great. It was a wonderful thing, but now it's taking a point of it's the new red. Yeah. It's the new red. It's a new way of controlling the masses through regulation, that they didn't vote for.
Well, and the EPA didn't need to be centralized at the federal level. It's a state or run type thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, each state should be doing its own regulations and own ways of doing something. What works in New Hampshire doesn't work in California, doesn't work in Texas. What works in New Hampshire is a New Hampshire solution. And we're not stupid people out here.
As a senator, you have the Keystone Pipeline.
Yes.
We have national defense problems. We can't even trust this president to tell us the truth about Benghazi, about what's happening around the country. And, you know, our sovereignty is being whittled away. I said this years ago that I believe this president is giving a white flag to all these other countries, and I'm seeing it with the internet. Why aren't we doing something to stop him from giving the internet away? What does that serve us?
It doesn't serve us anything. I mean, it takes away our freedoms. And what we have to do is we have to send someone down to Washington who will stand up against these bureaucratic bullies and say, we're not playing this game. We're operating by the rules that our government was founded on originally, our constitutional rules. And we're going to decentralize government. We're going to send it back to the states where it belongs. You know, look at the Department of Education. The Department of Education, when Jimmy Carter paid off his political crony and established it, they said that it was going to make us competitive in math and science internationally. And we were up in the top 10. Now we're down in 18, 19, 20, whatever it is, way down.
I heard in the 50s.
Well, it depends upon how many countries you're dealing with, but it's failed. Right. So why do we keep pouring money into a failed system? It's time to send it back to the people, let the people make their decisions. One of the things that I think is an overriding principle that I would operate with is Davy Crockett. Davy Crockett found out that, you know, you can be as philanthropic as you want to be with your own money.
But not mine.
But not government money.
Right.
Not the taxpayer dollar. It's not your money to spend.
Right.
It's up to you as an individual to decide what charity, who you want to help. And, you know, you take care of your family and then you decide who it is you want to help. It's not up to me to force you to pay for somebody else's abortion. It's not up to me to ask you to pay for somebody's burned down house. It's not up to me as your senator to tell you how to spend your money.
Or to take your money to buy these people's votes.
Exactly.
And that's another thing that really troubles me. So the campaign, where are you speaking next?
Well, actually on Saturday I'm going to be speaking at a rally at the State House to support the people in Concord who are in Connecticut who are standing up for their Second Amendment rights. So I'm going to be speaking there. I'll be on WGIR in the morning with Jeff Chittister and, you know, just different places around the state.
Say that name.
Chittister.
Yeah, say it fast, 3 or 4 times. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So,
but if people want more information about me, they can go to my website. It's testermanforsenate.com. And we've got a fabulous video up there right now. It's called Protect and Defend. And it's about the Second Amendment.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
We're going to be, our next guest is going to be Kimberly Morin, and she'll be talking about what's happening today up at the Capitol. So we'll be right back. And we're back with Kimberly Morin. Thank you for coming back on the show.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Well, you know, we had a good interview last time, and it's important that people have an independent voice. You know, again, I don't ask people really what their party affiliation is, but you're an independent.
Correct.
And you hail from Massachusetts.
Originally, yes.
Yes, and you came to New Hampshire thinking that it was going to be a state that was
Live free or die.
live free or die. And we wanted to have you on a routine basis, maybe to come back and just give us an update at what's happening at the Capitol and educate the viewers from an independent voice what's going on. So what's going on?
So, right now there's a transition in the House and the Senate where it's called crossover. And that's where certain bills from the House get sent to the Senate because the Senate has to have their own hearings and vote on them. And then certain bills from the Senate get sent down to the House. Same thing, they have hearings and vote on them.
Right.
So that's happening right now. So we're a little bit safe right now because they're not putting any new bills in.
Right.
These are just all existing.
It's kind of a limbo until
yeah,
everything
it's sort of
gets
in
settled.
limbo, right. So what I decided to do, because there were a lot of bills, I haven't even finished looking through all of them because I want to know what all the bills that were even brought into the House or the Senate, whether they passed or not, I want to see what these people are doing.
Right.
So
What's the count this year? Do you know?
I think it's between 800 and 900.
Wow. Busy, busy, busy.
These people are part-time
Right.
legislators in a small state that's supposed to be live free or die. I don't understand why there's so much legislation. I don't get it. I can't explain it. I know some of it's probably people like me saying, hey, can you, this is an important issue to me.
Right.
Can you sponsor this bill for
All
me?
the bills that come forward, though, they have to be looked at. They have to,
They
go
have
through
to
a
be looked-
committee, right?
exactly.
That is one of our laws. So if you have a bill, you want to bring it into they look at it, they bring it to the committee, and if it dies in committee, then you save the taxpayers some grievance.
Yeah.
You know. So what's at the top of the agenda here?
Well, there's one bill I discovered last week. I was actually listening, or whenever the last Senate session was before the crossover. There was one bill I was actually listening to the session live, and I heard this bill come up, and it's a bill regarding prescriptions for pain medicine. Now, originally the bill was a commission to study. The pain medicine and how, can we do anything to regulate it, or because apparently, it's an issue for some people. Of course,
Okay.
the majority of people it's not an issue for. The majority of people who need pain medicine, have cancer or chronic pain.
Right.
Previously, there's currently a law that says you can only fill a prescription for that kind of medicine every 34 days.
Okay.
They wanted to change it so that it's every 34 days or 100 pills, whichever's less. So if you do the math, that's only 3 pain pills a day. So if you have cancer or severe pain, suck it up.
Are they trying to micromanage the amount of dosage?
Yes.
So are they doctors doing it?
The Senate Democrat doctors. Peggy Gilmore was one of the senators who sponsored this bill.
Now, I believe she was a nurse at one point. I believe she has a medical background, but
She's not your doctor. She's not your doctor.
Right.
She's not my doctor.
right.
So they don't know the doctor, the situation, the
Everybody's
level of
different.
pain. Everybody's different.
Right.
I understand that there's issues and they want to try to curb that, but what they would end up doing is turning law-abiding citizens potentially into criminals because they have to do what the drug users do now.
Doesn't the doctor have the ability to say, look, this is what you need?
Most insurances, and I previously worked as a consultant for a company in the IT department, the insurance companies track these kind of people. They know if they're going hospital or doctor shopping,
Right.
and they try to intervene themselves. We certainly don't need a legislature doing it. And that's all I could think of. I personally was really mad. I lost both of my parents to cancer. I can't imagine a legislator trying to tell one of my parents when they were dying, sorry, you only get 3 pain pills a day.
Right. That just seems a little over the top and a little too personal. I mean, how much we don't want these legislators to micromanage every part of our life.
Right.
And it seems like this new Obamacare that's exactly what they're going to do.
That's exactly what it's doing. And the thing is, their intention is to stop drug users, right? From using these drugs illegally.
Right.
But those people are still going to get the drugs.
Right.
It's the law-abiding citizens, the people that are truly in pain or truly need this medicine, that are the ones who are going to suffer.
And are these people going to say, look, I need permission from the government to get more pills? This is absurd. This is absurd. Yeah. And so, all right, what else?
So just to update, they took that part of it out, the 100 limitation. So they're still going to have a drug commission, study commission, but they did take that part of it out before it was passed. But it was a little bit furious going on
right.
while I was listening to it.
Well, again, it goes back to the micromanaging of individuals' lives. Who's our sovereign? Who tells us how to engage our everyday activities? Mm-hmm. That's anti-liberty all the way.
It's managing individual behavior or managing criminal behavior or stupid behavior. You can't manage that because the majority of people aren't doing anything illegal. They're behaving in a responsible way as adults. And if they do something stupid, they are responsible for that.
There'll be a consequence for it, and they'll have to.
And they'll pay. These
right.
other people are these other people, the people who are abusing drugs or who are behaving badly, you can't make them stop.
Right.
You can't legislate behavior.
And that's a whole other issue. It's just, again, it's the micromanaging of every part of your life. Where do you go next? I mean, are you going to be allowed to have a hamburger with a certain size bun? Are they going to micromanage that? Get off our backs. Stop it. We're sick and tired of you legislators telling us how to live our lives. What's next?
Exactly. Here's another one. This was a little bit of a fun one, I want to say. This was in the House. This was brought forth by Timothy Horgan of Durham. He was the rep that wished Governor Palin had died in a plane crash, resigned, and then for some insane reason was reelected.
Now, I believe that goes along with, I guess it was Michelle Malkin that read her little love note from somebody saying how they wish she died from cancer. This is the tolerant left, and there's a double standard. Okay, what's Mr. Tim got to say about?
So he put in a bill it has to do with ballots and putting your ballots on social media. So.
Oh, I think I heard about that. You're not allowed to make a snapshot of.
You're not. So what his bill says is you can't take a snapshot of your ballot after you vote and then post it on Facebook or Twitter.
Why? What is wrong with this Democratic Party that cannot have any type of transparency? Give me a break. Transparency. Let us work in the dark. Is that all you want? My gosh, come on, Tim.
Well, I can. One of the reasoning was that people could try to force you to vote a certain way.
Oh dear.
And the thing is, we already know that.
Like the Black Panthers, right?
The unions try to have their members vote a certain way. But once you're in that ballot box, you vote the way you want.
Yeah.
Nobody's forcing anyone to take a picture, and put it on social media. But it's actually going to be a violation.
It might be helpful to somebody who doesn't know what's on the ballot. Oh, by the way, I saw that on Facebook. You know what? I don't want that, or I want that. You're giving people choice.
I've actually done it before.
Right.
A few elections ago, I was proud of my ballot and my vote, so I took a picture of it and I threw it up on Facebook. This time I'm going to be sending it to Timothy in November on Twitter.
Okay. All right.
No, I'm kidding. I was telling him that on Twitter. I was just, joking with him. But yeah, I don't understand the reason for this really. I just think it's another.
It's micromanaging your liberties.
Right, exactly. Oh, and here's one of the really great ones that they passed this session in the House is in-state tuition for illegal aliens.
Your tax dollars paying for illegal aliens to get educated.
Yeah.
Is somebody's really taking that seriously?
It's passed in the House. It's on its way to the Senate. It's going to go to the Senate. Regardless of the whole illegal part, you have the local colleges, the community colleges, the public colleges that get taxpayer dollars constantly whining they want more money, right? And then now we're going to take more money away from them by having certain students pay less tuition?
And so who's going to benefit from this? Are the colleges going to benefit from it? Are the illegal aliens going to benefit from it? Who's benefiting from this, and why would there be such a push for this? That's your tax dollars going to fund people who entered into the country illegally. Could somebody from Al-Qaeda get a free education at our tax dollar?
Absolutely.
You know, we have laws for a reason. So you're giving them more incentive to break our laws.
Well, and the thing is,
What does the Attorney General say about this?
he probably agrees with it. I have not seen him say anything about it. Governor Hassan is for this. And the thing is, you have a student who lives 5 miles over the border in Massachusetts who was born and raised here. They have to pay out-of-state tuition.
Right.
So how do you
just.
justify it? Exactly. How is that justifiable? So that's one of the other
Right. Stop
beauties.
taking our money and giving it to other people. It's not yours in the first place.
Right.
And that has to stop too. Ah, jeez.
You sure you want me to come on your show?
Was that funny? Oh, no,
No,
the Tim Horrigan was the funny one. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
All right, thanks.
I'll try to give you different ones that
Okay.
are, you know. Here's another one that passed in the House that is another one micromanaging at the individual level. They want to pass a bill that if someone in the medical field says you're unfit to drive, they can do that. They can report you as being unfit to drive. And they won't be, you know, they can't get civilly, they're not liable or anything for doing that. Because currently you are, because we have the HIPAA laws, you know, the Patient Protection Act. So I understand this could potentially be an issue, but you deal with let the doctor or the caregiver deal with that person, or the caregiver or the family. Are they going to go report it to the DMV now? And that's very subjective.
It's very subjective. And if you've ever worked in a hospital, which I'm sure some of you out there have, you can see how vindictive people can be. People are people. Come on. If a nurse says, look, I'm going to get back at this patient, or
Right.
a doctor, or anybody in the profession, you don't have a right to do that.
Right.
There may be a legitimate cause, but at the same time, you're taking your profession and violating somebody's liberty.
Mm-hmm. It's giving these people power, more power than they should have, and I'm sure it would put some of them in an uncomfortable position as well. They don't want to make that decision. Talking to the family or talking to the person or the caregivers, that's one thing. But reporting someone to wherever, whatever agency they'd be reporting them to?
These are all moves towards a police state. Everybody's watching you. You're not going to be able to trust your neighbor. It's going to be where we're living in the Soviet Union. And don't get this. This is how it happens. It never happens overnight.
No.
It's piece by piece by piece.
And if people don't, this is the problem. This is why I do this.
Right.
If people don't know about these things, they get passed. And the next thing you know, they broke a law by accident that they didn't know was a law.
Right, and then you're going to go before a judge, and that judge might be somebody's friend that doesn't like you. That's another issue that we've got to talk about in the future.
Yeah.
Do some research on the corruption in our courts.
I've seen some really pretty bad stuff.
Right.
I have, actually.
We have some interesting information that's coming up, and that I think it should blow the socks off some people. We showed some diagrams of how the network works. Now we're going to actually show you a court hearing where an individual had to go pro se because the president from the bar represented a former president from the bar. Talk about a chilling effect.
Wow.
We've had people come on this show in the past where they've said, well, my lawyer told me that if I come in on Speak Up or if I went to the Redress of Grievance Committee, they couldn't represent me anymore. Why? Well, he wouldn't get any work. So regardless of the law, regardless of the rules of the court, there's a thing called the litigant. What do you call that? A despised litigant.
Oh, okay.
A despised litigant, and what will happen is they'll shut you down. So any lawyer that goes against the bar president, you think he's going to find any work in New Hampshire or in New England? So that's what we have to deal with. There's no separation. These people are a power unto themselves. And you know, I can remember a while back we were actually looking at maybe starting the process to impeach a judge when I served in the House. I went to the Speaker's office and I said, you know, Mr. Speaker, you know, we've got the goods. I don't know if it was Philip Cross or another judge, but he said, listen, if you go after the judge, you got to prove it, and you got to make sure that it happens, because one day you'll be driving up the highway, and there'll be a brick of coke in the back of your van. And I stepped back and I think, what? And it was a reality check. He was just saying, listen, if you go after them, you've got to make sure that you got the goods.
Yep.
And I believe we did at the time. And I believe it was Representative Imberson said, well, we wouldn't let that happen to him. And I had a reality check. I mean, I think he was just saving me from going after somebody. Make sure. Well, I am sure.
Right.
And we never went after them. It's in the House calendar. So that's kind of a frightening thing.
Yeah, it is, definitely.
And I'm being very vocal about it right now. And when I get into the Senate, I promise you, I'm bringing these to the Senate. The people need to have a voice. People are being abused, and they need to have a voice. I'll bring that voice to them. Anything else?
Anything else? After that.
After that. What's going on with Common Core? Is that anybody fighting that still? Or is that a dead issue?
No, the House killed it.
Killed any bill? Right.
Killed all the bills that would have helped kids, that would have at least delayed it. Not.
Oh, I heard something recently about an administrator saying that we don't want local control.
Yes.
What was that?
That was Virginia Berry. She allegedly, said that at a meeting of superintendents. It's a closed meeting. There's no notes taken. It's not a public meeting.
Was there a quorum?
I don't think it's even that. I think it's just a discussion type meeting. I don't even think it's like a meeting to vote on. It's just a monthly meeting. But that was said that came out of that. I'm not sure if that's verifiable.
Right.
To be honest with you, I don't think there's no recording. There's
Okay.
no, would I be surprised that she said that? No.
Well, she's welcome to come on the show to deny it.
Yeah, that's exactly. It generates some, buzz,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah, we want local control.
Yeah, I don't. Of course we do. Yeah, like I said, it's not there. It's not on
It's not
video
verified.
or
Okay,
anything.
well.
You know how that works.
Yep.
But it's out there.
Right, and Common Core does take away local control anyway.
It does, and it takes control out of the parents' hands. It takes control out of the teachers' hands, really. It's just.
What would be a really cool idea is to get some of these math problems and all these people that are running for office, just bring it to your competition that supports Common Core, hold it up to them and ask them to figure it out. Let you be the judge if you want your children to learn how this math works. 'Cause I'm telling you what, I can't figure it out. I've seen a lot of examples, people posting their homeworks.
I actually saw that a woman was testifying before her local legislature, and she brought up a problem to them. And she goes, "Can you answer this? Do you know what this means?" And they couldn't. So, that's exactly what's happening.
Right.
There's lots of examples out there now.
And that's top-down government. That's top-down. It doesn't allow the people to breathe. You do this cookie-cutter way, and you fall in line, and it's almost out of a sci-fi movie.
Well, do they really think that kids in the Northeast are going to learn the same as kids on the West Coast or in the South? I mean, all these kids have different ways of learning, and they come from different backgrounds, different areas even. So in the South, you might talk about one thing, and in the West Coast, you might talk about something else because you want kids to relate, right? We
are a melting pot, but we remain to keep our identity, and we bring our identity to the table so that we can all flourish from other areas of life that we've learned. And when you take that away and you say, look, this is the way it is,
right?
You just stagnate everything. You stagnate personalities, you stagnate growth, you stagnate government, you stagnate businesses, everything. So we've got to stop this cookie-cutter approach towards education, towards government, and whatnot. I would thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll have you back next week. Hopefully there'll be some new things that you can let us know what's going on. Be a little beacon there saying, hey, alert, alert, warning, warning, danger.
Yeah.
The legislator is in session. So,
exactly.
until next week. Thank you for watching this episode of Speak Up. We also want to thank our sponsor, Center for Redress of Grievances, LLC. You can reach them at www.centerforredress.com. If you want more information about
speak up, or want to be a guest, you have something to say, contact us at speakupnh@gmail.com. And thanks for watching. Until next week.